Hello, so we're doing a mobile call out here at the Vaughn's Shopping Center in Solana Beach. The woman who drives this car, she had a power steering malfunction and she didn't want to drive it. So I already checked under the hood to make sure that everything was, the belts were on and all that was okay. And we're gonna get this back to the shop and check it out. So we got this car back here from the Vaughn's Shopping Center over in Solana Beach. The customer's complaint was that she started it after she went shopping and the steering was very heavy, and on the dash, on the screen of the dash, it said power steering malfunction. She said, hey, the power steering doesn't work and it's definitely got a problem. So I said, I'll go pick it up for you, no problem. I got there probably like 20 minutes later and it did not say steering malfunction. And the steering was not heavy, the power steering was working. When I went to go start the car in the Vaughn's parking lot, the starter was really slow, kind of like a low battery. Maybe it's got electric power steering. We'll find that out back at the shop. I have already pulled some codes on this car. You can see our battery's a little bit low at 11.4 volts, but we've got the ignition on and a bunch of computers are pulling power right now. We've got all these faults in all these systems right here. ESP, collision prevention, electric power steering has a fault in it. So we're gonna go in and check out what our electric power steering says. Her concern and the concern that that my scan tool sees are matching up. This says the electric power steering has a malfunction, which is basically the same thing that she saw pop up on the dash. This says circuit 30 has a malfunction. That's the constant power to the power steering rack. This car doesn't have any power steering fluid. It uses battery power to steer the car. Also, there's implausible data were received from the ESP. That's the electronic stability program. So let's go in and look at what the electronic stability program is saying. The ESP, which is the stability program, which is like your anti-lock brake system and lane keep assist and all those skid controls and all those things. That computer doesn't like the message that it got from the electric power steering computer, and they're basically kind of just pointing the finger at each other. So this car, lots of different codes are coming in from different modules and they're all kind of pointing to each other. We have lots of power codes. I didn't like the way the car started. It acted like it had a dead battery, or almost a dead battery. I'm gonna go see how old the battery is now. This car may actually have two batteries. So the battery on this car is dated 0414, especially with what's happening with COVID. Lots of cars aren't being moved right now because nobody's going anywhere. So we're in 2020, the battery's 6 years old. The first thing that we're gonna recommend on this car is a battery. So this battery, like all batteries, they have vents on them. See this guy right here? It's important to vent this because there's a couple different reasons. You think that you're not too worried about venting a battery that's in the outside firewall area, right? This car's a little tricky because what happens is you've got some AC ducting that goes right on top of here, right? Right on top of the battery. If this seal is just like a little foam seal, but if this seal degrades over time, which all seals do, you've got the AC fan right down there. So see the heater blower motor fan right down there? So if this vents and the vent doesn't go outside of the space of the AC vent, it's gonna vent battery fumes right into the cabin. This is the brand new Interstate. This is a glass mat battery. It's a 94R. It needs to be an AGM battery, glass mat battery. That's what we're taking out of this car. See how it says AGM on the top of the Mercedes over there? That's an absorbed glass mat, as this one is as well. You can see that on this side, you can vent it to either side. This was vented on the ground side. Originally, it was vented on the ground side. So see what they did on the positive side is they put a plug in the battery, in the side of the battery. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove that plug, and we are going to reinstall it into the positive side of this battery. Because if we don't, the vent hose that we hook up is gonna do nothing. Then we're gonna plug this side off, and then over here it's still open. That's where we're gonna plug our vent line in. So we're gonna hook up the vent over here, right to there. So we have this side plugged off over here. the site is vented properly. That's how all batteries need to be. Lots of people skip that step, the venting step. They don't plug the side that needs to be plugged. They don't vent line the side that needs to be vent lined. This is all important. This car has a battery also back here, so if your car is equipped with the Eco Start, if it's a wagon or a sedan, will be in the trunk area underneath there's a third row seat, so it's underneath the third row seat. This battery was replaced in 18, so we're not going to replace this battery because this battery is going to be just fine. That one is original, you saw from 14. These cars can have 3 batteries in them. That's a 12 amp hour battery, that's an 80 amp hour battery up in the front, and then there's a little mini 1.2 amp hour battery that this car doesn't have. After we installed the battery, we went and rescanned it. We got the fault codes in there for circuit 30. So the reason why the car had a power steering malfunction when she started it is because the battery was just 6 years old, it ran out of juice. The power steering flagged a circuit 30 code. The circuit 30 is just the hot lead that goes from the battery right to the power steering. So if there's not enough amperage to supply the power steering rack, then it will just go into safety mode and shut itself off so it won't catch on fire. When you start a car, it cranks over for about a half second. The first 20% of that half second was really labored. So it was, the starter motor was robbing all the power out of the battery. Then it was trying to feed a bunch of power to the power steering. It couldn't because it ran out of power. And this all happened like in the first, 1 second. Right? Just the battery just went down so far. The alternator picked back up and recharged it quick enough, but it wasn't quick enough for the car to see that there was a problem with the power steering and shut it off. Now with a new battery and the way this car starts now, I'm pretty sure this is completely resolved and there's not going to be any more power steering malfunction warning lights that come on. So let's listen to how it starts. Yeah, that's perfect. So if it takes a half a second or less to start this car is probably starting at about a quarter of a second. 100% of that starter motor engagement all sounds the same. So that's good. There's no labored noise or movement or anything. So you hit the starter motor, perfect.